In the quiet rural town of Lamar, Arkansas, tucked between endless cotton fields and collapsing barns, stood a white colonial farmhouse. From the outside, it looked like the promise of a dream, a peaceful life, a fresh start. But for the Shaye family, that dream would become something else entirely. Something cold, something aware, and something deeply malevolent. Between the years 2000 and 2003, this unsuspecting home became the center of one of the most terrifying, violent, and well-documented hauntings in modern American history. This is the true story of the haunting in Arkansas, and this is not a story you should hear alone. A home is supposed to be a sanctuary, a place where walls protect you from the world outside. But what happens when the danger is already inside? The Ozark River Valley was once known as the gateway to the American West, but perhaps it has always been something more. A place where the line between life and death grows thin, where unseen things linger, and sometimes follow you home. In October of 2003, Ben and Jamie Shaye were searching for a new place to live. Originally from Little Rock, they wanted something quieter, somewhere their children could grow up safe. That search eventually led them to Markham, Arkansas. As they pulled up to one particular property, they were stunned. Standing before them was a massive white farmhouse, surrounded by old trees and open land. Jamie would later say it was the house she had dreamed of her entire life. Built in the late 1700s, it was one of the oldest homes in the state, and almost instantly, both Ben and Jamie felt drawn to it. They imagined raising their 3 children there, letting them run through the woods, building memories that would last a lifetime. The location was perfect. Between their workplaces, shorter commutes, more time together as a family, so they stepped inside, unaware that the moment they crossed the threshold, something else noticed them too. At first, everything felt normal, but upstairs, in one of the bedrooms, they found something unsettling. At the center of the room stood a stone fireplace. Its surface was covered in strange markings, names carved into the stone, symbols they didn't recognize, rough graffiti etched deep into the rock. One name stood out, a local boy who had died years earlier. Though disturbed, the couple convinced themselves it was nothing more than vandalism. Teenagers breaking in, messing around. The deal was too good to pass up. They made an offer, and it was accepted almost immediately. Within weeks, Ben and Jamie moved in with their 3 children, 11-year-old Tori, 5-year-old Bridger, and 8-month-old baby Jax. A new chapter had begun, but it didn't take long for things to change. One afternoon, Ben was asleep upstairs after working a night shift. Suddenly, he was jolted awake by the sound of his infant son screaming through the baby monitor beside his bed. He called out to the babysitter. No response. The crying only grew louder. Concerned, Ben got up and followed the sound toward the nursery. But as he reached the doorway, the screaming stopped. The room was empty. The crib was bare. There was no one inside. Confused and shaken, Ben searched the house. Downstairs, he found a note on the table. The babysitter had gone shopping and had taken the baby with her. Later, Ben would say he knew he hadn't been dreaming. The crying had been real. Soon after, the children began experiencing things of their own. Late one night, Bridger woke up screaming, claiming he heard voices. Cold wind rushed through rooms with closed doors. Toys were blown across floors. At 3 a.m, Tori heard sounds coming from her brother's room. When she opened the door, she saw his toys scattered across the floor, moving, playing by themselves. And her brother wasn't there. Moments later, a freezing wind swept through the hallway. Voices overlapped, whispering in tones she didn't recognize. Terrified, she ran back to her room and hid beneath her covers until morning. Jamie began hearing children laughing at night, footsteps running up and down the stairs. But every time she checked, the house was silent. The children were asleep. Eventually, Jamie went to the local library, searching for answers. While checking out books on hauntings, a librarian casually mentioned she had once lived in a haunted house. The address she gave was the same one Jamie now lived in. The woman believed a child had died falling from the upstairs room, the same room Bridger slept in. From that moment on, the activity felt darker. Jamie began seeing shadow figures watching her. Then came the car accident. A sudden flash of light. A violent crash. Tori was critically injured. Though she survived, Jamie couldn't shake the feeling that something in the house had caused it. That whatever lived there was feeding on their fear. One night, Jamie woke to the feeling of her hair being pulled. The house began to shake. Frames fell. Lights flickered. The family fled downstairs and slept together in one room. They knew they couldn't handle this alone anymore. A paranormal investigation team was called in. Almost immediately, they sensed multiple spirits. But there was something else. Something inhuman. During a Ouija board session, the entity gave its name, Seth. When asked when it had lived, it answered, never. The planchette began moving violently, then flew off the board. On camera, a grotesque figure appeared in the hallway. A cleansing ritual was performed. For a short time, the house went quiet, but it didn't last. Weeks later, Bridger stood motionless in a doorway. When he spoke, the voice was not his own. That night, Jamie saw the entity again, tall-robed, with cracked skin and hollow eyes. They ran. The Shaye family fled their home and never returned. What they thought was their forever house had been a trap. Sometimes, when we believe we've found safety, it's only an illusion, a moment of calm, before the darkness shows itself. So stay aware, stay cautious, and remember, not every home wants you there.